There is a lot happening in the crypto market. We have seen positive cases, we have seen a lot of negative cases this week for sure, but we are also observing a lot in the positive side as well. As we go break down about what's happening in Israel, it's also important that this time it's happening in London. And as it is in London, we also need to understand something else is also going to happen soon. And you come here on the ISO 20022 registration management, and it's really interesting to see clearing houses like DTCC, Euroclear, and then central banks like European Central Bank, Bank of England, Swift, which is like the biggest player in the industry, along with MasterCard and all, and then RippleNet and Moja Loop Foundation. If you have seen the last video, now you're getting an idea why this is so important. Then Bank of England. A lot of people have a confusion with this one. Say, for example, when this is happening in London, and Bank of England is also working on ISO 20022 with Ripple inside that team, Bank of England is in city of London, not in UK. Now, geographically, yes, but not as a country. If you actually know the history, you know why I'm saying that, because that's really important. The banks, the finance is not in UK, it's in the city of London. And city of London is not in UK. That may sound confusing, but you can do your due diligence and you'll understand why the conspiracy will build from there. And I don't want to take you guys through that route, because we are going to look at something even more interesting. Utility. We are going to look at adoption. We're going to look at how things are evolving in this market, where it's all really getting interesting. Because if you're using Metcalfe's law for BTC, Ether, that's all good, great. But right now, try using that for XRP Ledger. 2 years back, we were having like 4 payout markets, and right now it's 40, which actually shows you how big this has grown. And from the Ripple swell event, we just came to know that this is big. 30 billion in transaction volume through 20 million transactions. So the level of adoption is growing so fast. We do have competitors. I'm not saying like Ripple is going to eat everything in the market. A lot of you may actually being sold into that narrative, but understand this. Say, for example, this one, a digital pilot project which is happening in the US. The question is this involved? But as you come down, you see which banks are working with them, and they eventually give you who is working on that project. Why is that important? That's this organization which actually tries to work like a competitor for Ripple, that's for sure. Right? And it also is interesting to note that individuals like this, Delantine, has been hired by them when they moved out from Ripple. So the competitiveness is clear. And they are also ISO 20022 certified, which means the management team here for that regulatory board includes RippleNet. So they already know that this is a competitor and it's just a new small competitor. When you actually look at this entire segment of people working with them, I'm like, okay, there is a lot here, which means as you go, you are going to see how things evolve from here. It's going to be really interesting, because right now the dollar is dropping like a stone. And you haven't observed dollar dropping like that for some time. You can zoom out for a long period of time and you won't see that. But right now it's happening. BRICS nations are moving into different sides. And yes, crypto is getting a lot more negative news as well. So we are going to actually look at this and how this is going to impact, because one by one, as we see institutions coming down with issues like this, can the market continue higher? What are the odds that utility may push the price up? Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of the world. So yes, we are looking at the market and we see Chile's having a lot of volume and slowly trying to hold on when the market is slow. And for the last 1 week, We see Trust Wallet doing fine, around 100% and holding on there. And we know why the market dropped, right? Now, almost all of us saw that. And we also understand that Trust Wallet is being pushed up by Binance and CZ actually dropping a lot of different tweets. So it's actually showing you how things evolve. And then we go on to the Ripple swell event and see like, okay, Trust Wallet is being represented there. So that is going to be something big. Why is that? The volume is still significantly higher compared to where it was a week back. So the money flow into that ecosystem is slowly increasing. Now it does make sense, right? You can actually see a lot happening in this space where people are right now scared to put their money in the centralized exchanges. Unless, they completely believe that, or it's just 5 or 10% of their portfolio being there, right? So when this is happening, you should be worried. Why? Because we don't know how many of the institutions, celebrities and all have been invested in these platforms. And when they are not getting their money out, automatically, it's celebrities, it's big institutions, it's whales. When they put on something negative, it goes in the market like a fire. It spreads so fast. So the negativity can actually go in hard. Even though we actually see that the market is showing you positive signs, for us, at least for XRP holders, that you have this pattern, you broke higher, and that was like a bullish breakout here. Now we are slowly correcting back down, showing a bullish signal of a retest. So most likely you may have another leg, fine, but you are going to trend higher, which is clear here. Great. And if that's against BTC, and when you move against Ether, it's showing you an engulfing candle, which is kind of erasing last 2 days, last 2 weeks, there's a weekly chart, last 2 weeks of bearishness here. The corrective action has been cleared. And this week is not over yet. So we need to see by the time this week ends, if we are going higher, if we manage to stay above this level, because this is a resistance, this is a resistance. So that horizontal level, if you can break through that one, it's going to be another significant level to observe for that to pair. Now, here what's interesting is, yes, we are moving on a short-term basis here, but we also are observing that the short-term moving average is trying to cross the bigger average to the upside, right? So if the longer average is being crossed by the shorter bite to the upside, then it possibly means the price may actually come back down. We have seen that a lot of time happening in the market. As soon as the 20 crosses the 50 to the downside, the price bounces. So again, when you are turning bullish, this is also possible that the price may go down first before it bounces hard. Because when you go on to a daily chart, which is a higher time frame structure here, you will see that the 21 moving average crossed the 50, you dropped. Then you got a small bounce. But what happened? That's more interesting. Right now, the 21-day moving average is trying to go touch the 200-day moving average from the upside to the downside. So usually what happens is, even though it's considered as a negative stuff, the price drops. Say for example, here you got the 20 crossing the 200 to the upside, which should be a bullish pattern. But soon after that, you topped out and you started correcting back down. Right? So when you're doing the opposite here, you should see a momentum being built and the price move to the upside, which technically is a good thing. But when you're actually getting these kind of things, yes, it does seem like there is a lot happening. There is a lot of possibilities. But think about this. If that one guy is still outside free and he's not in the jail, that does show you like, the laws are not built in properly. We saw a coder being put into jail for coding, literally building a software. And this guy who has done all this craziness is still out there free. So this may go on. We have seen, 70,000 people, XRP holders, trying to talk towards the SEC, to the court with the help of John. But what happened? They're not completely being respected, at least by the SEC. They don't even care because the system is like that. And yes, we have seen big institutions like Grayscale is actually giving us that note we are not impacted by this. But what happens is, what we have seen is that when Luna crisis happened, they told the same. When recently the FTX issue happened, they told the same. So we are like, okay, if everything is similar, if it actually quacks like a duck, walks like one, then it can probably be one. I'm not saying Grayscale is going bankrupt. I'm saying be cautious. This market can be really tricky and hard. So not everyone knows how to use a ledger. Not everyone knows how to use a wallet. I know that. But for youngsters, this may seem like, okay, that's so easy to do, but not for everyone. But right now, the issue is, even though the market has a long way to go to the upside, you will definitely observe a lot of bearish momentum in psychology. Now, that is not a bad thing. Right now, when the market is actually breaking through a support level, it should be there. But what is interesting to observe here is that again on a macro structure, you're crossing to the downside. So you go back in history, you look at all these things, and you will find when you're crossing to the upside, you come back down. Great. When you're crossing to the downside, you go back up. That's how things work. So having a little bit of patience will be better here to observe the price go back. I'm not saying this is going to 100K right now. I'm saying that when the price bounce, it can actually go higher, test the 18K level 1, and then 22 and 25. So you do have a lot of overhead resistance to break through. Unless you are breaking those, it's going to be really hard to even stay bullish for Bitcoin. I agree on that. Because right now what you're observing is that the price broke through the 200-day moving average, which is really bad. Then you went up to retest that, you got rejected with all these noise happening in the market, and you're coming back down and gaining momentum to the downside. So even if you're going back up, 200-day moving average can still act as a resistance. So I'm not actually buying into any narrative saying, okay, next 1 week we are skyrocketing. Now, if that happens, that's actually good, great, but this is the reality. Because when you actually move on to the market, not every assets are showing you the same structure. Especially we talked about Ether and it's still inside that. Why are we reiterating that? The weekly candle closed there and the next one is staying inside that. So if you get next one as a continuation pattern, it can drop, right? We understand that. And that's why when you go on and look at XRP, say, we'll level the playing field, go on a same time horizon, which is a weekly chart here. On a weekly chart, XRP is holding on to this particular trend line, a long-term trend line, whereas all those others which we talked about right now broke that level, which is really important to observe, right? When we look at Bitcoin, we do see that the long-term range has been broken. And that's where altcoin market is kind of holding on right now. And the reason for that is a lot of assets with utility. They're not dropping like a stone. There are assets in the market which dropped 90%. So you go here, you go look at the return rates. You can just refresh it, take it from top to the bottom, and then go on to the return rates to see how these are actually being impacted in the market. Bitcoin 70% down, XRP 65. That's not too much different. But you still get some of these assets on a yearly basis on a positive note, and others which are like this, minus 100%. 95% down, 95% down, 95% down. Now, even within these, which is 95% down, 90% down, you have stable assets with utility. Developers are entering into space and it's increasingly getting bullish momentum, basically, right? But not every asset is actually doing that. What interests me is like, say, when people like MasterCard CEO is actually talking about crypto ecosystem being used and how it can move further, it does give me some understanding, basic thought process like, okay, a lot of people may actually say this is not happening, but literally this is happening right now. So if you take your time to listen to these guys who have been in the industry for a very long time, they give you the right perspective. Now, yeah, you need your cognitive ability to connect all these different guys talking and make your own judgment. But this is really big. 30 billion in volume, over 20 million transactions around the globe with 40 payout markets. It's in currency payouts. You need to understand that. So different currencies being dealt. And just in US, they say it's a security. So as soon as there is a change in that case, you're going to see a lot of different money institutions, countries going on hard here. And yeah, that can actually significantly impact the price, and which we all want to see right now. So we are actually looking at different things evolving in the market. We are looking at a lot of issues right now. But understand, we do have competition, we do have forces happening. But the narrative here, when we talk about the ISO 20022, I personally don't think we may actually skyrocket. Now, that will impact the price, because you need to understand two things. One, yeah, there is nothing like, cryptocurrencies, which is ISO 20022. It's the messaging platform there, right? It's the messaging platform. As we think, if you are talking French, and I don't know French, that message is not conveyed. So it's actually being interoperable. Great. But what's more important here is that that network as a solution is also able to do these transactions. Now, these are also ISO 20022 compliant, and then you have XDC network and others which are also ISO 20022 compliant. But what's more important this time, when the swell is happening near the city of London, I would say, like, okay, that's really interesting. It's actually happening in the magazine London here, somewhere here, which is not that far away, and we need to see how things evolve. This is crazy, right? When the dollar is dropping like a stone, crypto should be going up. We have seen a lot of momentum happening, but we need more patience to see how things are evolving. And that being said, it's not only patience. You should make sure you're in the right assets, and that asset is holding on to a support. If the short-term support is taken, it should be fine. Look for the macro trend, because the macro will always give you, like, what's the worst case scenario, what's the best case scenario. If you're bouncing for XRP from here, that's a great thing to watch. Or if you're breaking towards 0.25, that's the worst case scenario. So one thing for sure, if the Ripple swell even is not giving you what you want, major announcement in terms of central banks or big banks, it's going to be painful. The market may actually go nuts, right? So be prepared for that too. If you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.